Hi everyone, I'm Alistair Kerr and welcome to episode 2 of From Surviving to Thriving in COVID-19 for early and beginning career teachers. Today's topic in focus is how to manage your career during times of uncertainty. Working as a beginning or early career teacher has its challenges, even at the best of times. And right now, these challenges have been magnified due to the COVID-19 crisis. Because of COVID-19, we've all had to put a lot of things on hold. Birthdays and important celebrations, professional and community sport, and even face-to-face schooling. But there's one thing that early and beginning career teachers shouldn't have to put on hold, and that is their careers. To help think our way through managing change and career progression through unprecedented uncertainty, we're again today joined by Dr. Pete Stebbins, Director of the High Performance Schools Program. Pete is a prolific author, clinical psychologist, and is deeply passionate about helping staff and students to flourish. All right, welcome back, Pete. It's great to have you back in the chair for podcast number 2. We've had a lot of excellent feedback after podcast 1.
Thanks so much for having me, Alistair. It was great, podcast 1, covering off the stressful life events and being resilient in the face of all of this stuff. I'm pretty excited about the conversation today as we head into career impacts.
Absolutely. And while we could look at this in one sense as a bit of a crisis, we could also look at it in terms of opportunity. What do you see are the opportunities?
Look, it's a massive opportunity. One of the things, if you're a beginning teacher or early career, is getting established in your career is quite frankly stressful. And there's a lot to learn, and you're on the fly if you're at a new school or meeting new staff and trying to wrap your head around everything. COVID-19 has kind of created a level playing field, if you think about it, because all the other teachers in the school may have been in a position where they were more stable and they had the whole thing wired. The beauty of what's happened for us all as grad teachers is we're now, all our peers have joined us in the uncertain, unsettling phase. And so we're kind of onboarding, shall we say, all of us together into the new world. So in terms of getting along and connecting with the other teachers, this crisis presents a massive leveling of the play field and opportunity for grad teachers to really fast track their ways of working and stepping into the school.
Right. And, I guess going beyond that too, what I've seen is a lot of reverse mentoring, given a lot of our early and grad teachers, they're kind of a lot more up with technology, shall we say. So, yeah, it's a really interesting time.
Oh, they're hot property, aren't they? They can use Class Dojo, or they've got Zoom, Skype, etc., all sorted. A lot of them have just brilliant video skills. I'm jealous of my 18-year-old daughter. She can just put together a video on the fly. So again, another big opportunity really is we may or may not know a lot about the history of a school or the history of the curriculum or expertise in that sense. But what this crisis has brought to the table are adaptive skills, and grad teachers, early career teachers, they have adaptive skills in spades.
Today's topic is all around career and how we can manage during times of uncertainty. I know one of your big passions is around life strategy. So would you be able to give us a bit of the 30-second download? What is life strategy and how can that framework maybe help us right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, life strategy is simply about living your life on purpose, about being proactive. Life by design is another catch cry around that stuff. And then you've got the whole kind of Tony Robbins movement as well. Essentially, it's covering around this whole notion that you need to be intentional or on purpose with your life. Yep. And then sharing a life strategy. The book shares a framework, a simple framework that you can really start to tighten up and take a holistic view of getting super on purpose with those, we call them the 4 quadrants of life, but there may be more, which is family and friends. Second quadrant is relationships. The third is that leisure play space. And the fourth and the most important one for today is work in our careers.
Absolutely. And I know through talking to you about this in the past, we kind of see a lot of people busy being busy. So they're just in the action phase. But when you look at life strategy, you tend to flip it around. So would you mind talking us through that and I guess the way that we can start with the end in mind and then build forward to the action phase?
Yeah, absolutely. And the end in mind is a beautiful Stephen Covey quote. It's also Sun Tzu and lots of philosophers. And the whole notion of legacy, when we think about those 4 areas of our life, there's layers to what an awesome life could be. Have we got clear in our minds, or in our case, we write them down tangibly? Firstly, the foundation of the purpose or legacy, our why, which is a popular way to describe the same thing now. Why did I want to be?
Isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Simon Sinek and others. Why did I choose teaching? and being really intentional and clear about what that was about. You can take that to its extreme form, which is the funeral speech or the tombstone. Well, what is it you want to be remembered for as a teacher? Who do you want to remember? Most of us are in teaching around the idea of being that person that helped change a student's life. But that's that bottom layer. I'll just step through them and then we can unpack them slowly.
Okay.
If we don't have our why clear, we can't then circle back around. From there, we look at the dreams I had for my career. And dreams, of course, are these vaguer things. They're not concrete and specific. So it might have been about teaching in certain schools or in certain student populations or certain locations, or having particular perhaps promotions or influential projects or positions. That's really important that we can operate in the dream space. From there, we get, as you can tell, we get more and more specific. We move into goals after the dreams. And then we can take those grand ideas of wonderful things in your career and start to crunch them down. Well, what is it? And how's that actually going to be framed up? SMART goals, specific, measurable, actionable, realistic and timely. And then the last point, as you said, which is where we're all at right now, action planning, problem solving, working through the detail. And the main point is to take time out, particularly for graduate teachers, early career teachers listening to this podcast, and actually begin at the beginning. So they're those 4 layers. And the challenge, of course, with what's going on right now in the world is we're all in problem solving, action mode. And we may or may not be staying grounded to our bigger career and or recognizing when we're on or off track with that. Because as we've already flagged, there's all sorts of opportunities, career opportunities in all that's going on right now.
Right. Okay. Thanks for that big picture. Let's dive in a little bit deeper then to each of those different steps, starting out with the legacy piece. You mentioned before the tombstone exercise. That sounds a really interesting way to kind of get into it. What's that all about?
Yeah, it's a funny one, but again, it's that whole notion, Stephen Covey, the 7 habits, begin with the end in mind. And sometimes when people have to write down, well, what is it I want said about me by others at the end of my career? Again, we look at the 4 life strategy, but to focusing on career, it makes people think far more specifically about what the most important aspects of their job are. Do they want, my legacy or whatever, I want people to remember they feel that Pete challenged me, he inspired me, he encouraged me, he walked with me. And if I have that big picture clearer, it helps me start to see the opportunities in the crisis, see where, well, have I really lost that opportunity? No, I haven't lost that opportunity, but I'm not perhaps able to do it with particularly students working remotely. I have to do it differently. But my sense of purpose isn't lost if I take the time to reconnect with my sense of purpose.
Okay, that's great. And then so once you've got that really big picture legacy-wise nailed down, how do you then take the next step to bring it back towards dreams?
Well, this is where I love it, because most of us, when we talk about dreams in life and therefore focusing in on our careers, we're talking about the things that we might have, and that might relate to where we live and this type of school we teach in. We might have concrete things like that. It might be about things that we do. So again, that might be about the different modalities that we teach in. And who we're with, again, different layers of students, different staff. And so when you think about COVID-19, what it's done is completely upset the apple cart about how the organizations traditionally ran, and graduate teachers can do different teaching or quickly expose themselves and jump ahead and move along towards those areas, because they can help different groups of students, so they can work in multiple layers there. And absolutely, they can cement themselves as an expert in online learning, distance education, as well as where they're typically going in that classroom teaching environment. So their employability, if they just stay calm and clear, will fit almost any career dream as an educator they could aspire to.
Okay. And so the next step then in all of that process is really around the goal setting. And I think goal setting is an interesting one in that a lot of people think it's really easy to do, but sometimes it gets a bit complicated. What are your tips in then setting really great goals?
Well, and this is pretty important for everyone listening to pause on now. Before, goal setting is something most adults are great at anyway. The problem, or where it comes unstuck for me as a an executive coach and psychologist, is the things we've just talked about. A lot of us are busy setting goals up, but haven't connected them to a dream nor our legacy. So we, in that sense, are working very hard, going nowhere, or frantically setting goal after goal and exhausting ourselves. So one of the most important things, and we go into great depth about this in the book, is to live a connected life or a purpose-driven life. And that's setting goals now that are obviously aligned with the opportunities of COVID-19, but are nonetheless firmly anchored in your dreams and your legacy or purpose. And so, we take the dream, if you like, and we say, what's going on in the crisis right now, where some of my bigger ambition about teaching all these different age groups of students, or my bigger ambition about teaching around the world, and the prerequisite skills or flexibility of working on different platforms, what's going on in all of this where there's opportunity? Then obviously we set goals, and SMART goals: specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and time bound. That's the trick right now. Are there goals you could be setting for your career that might be around, being able to live anywhere in the world? Well, if you can work well in remote teaching and online medium, you can live anywhere in the world, and you can teach anywhere in the world. Have you been alert to that possibility? Is that part of your dream space to be able to be that flexible and have that awesome life? If it is, you can start to set goals there. What about leadership goals? Did you want to be a team leader or potentially be a principal, regional director? Did you want to be a consultant one day in a business environment? Again, right now, there are a number of goals you could be setting to rapidly escalate your skill and capability in those areas.
Yeah, right. And some of those goals that you're talking about, obviously, they sound really, really big. It kind of brings up the idea that I know you've talked about before in the past around stretch goals. I think that'd be really interesting for our listeners because, we're often thinking about the SMART goals, but what about the stretch?
Yeah, I love that. And there's some great ones in Australia right now. Is it Eddie Wu, the maths teacher who got the Order of Australia a while ago?
Is it the guy on YouTube?
Yeah, Eddie.
Yeah.
Anyway, so our goal as a beginning teacher might be to be able to conduct an online learning module, or to successfully understand, how to produce a 3-minute video, how to prepare a 60-minute engagement cycle online that's really high quality. Our stretch goal could be the Eddie stretch goal, to have a kick-ass YouTube channel with millions of followers. So there's plenty of quick stretch goal iterations that you can embrace right now. There's a manual arts teacher up in far north Queensland that's doing an Eddie Wu's intervention. He's got all these really cool man arts videos on his YouTube channel. Again, this crisis presents so much opportunity, not just for the goal that I master the online learning environment, but for the stretch goal as well, that I'm a YouTube superstar, and anyone on the planet, any kid that wants to know about something I can teach, I'm providing that. I'm bridging that gap for them. I'm adding value to other teachers. So goal, stretch goal.
Yeah, great. And I can see now we're kind of really fastly niching down to the last piece of the puzzle, which is around the action planning side of things. Now, I know teachers are notoriously good action planners. They're great at it. But what tips have you got to share today around, kind of taking that last step and making everything turn out the way you want it to?
Yeah, and again, this is a really interesting one for us because, again, as professionals, we're usually brilliant at this stuff on others, and for some strange reason, we don't apply the same stringent action planning disciplines over ourselves. The action planning process, of course, is pretty straightforward. You take a goal, you break it down into its component strategies, 1, 2, 3, 4, in what order. You look at the resources you're going to need, the timelines, and importantly, 2 things: support networks. Who are the key people? And then set back plans. And the devil is in the detail. A lot of people kind of just crack on with, goodness knows I do. I just get an idea and start doing it. And then I suffer all the perils of not thinking it out properly. And so we're only talking another couple of minutes tops in the scribbling of notes and thinking things through. But if you use the tools in the book, you'll probably always succeed because you've thought out those things. Some of the biggest risks to what's going on right now is that these graduate and early career teachers are going to be working longer hours if they're planning to take advantage of these career progression opportunities. So what are the resources they need? They need their health, they need their energy, They need to, so support networks, massive. If they're in a relationship, is their partner understanding that? Because they might lower the amount of quality time they're spending with them. Are they planning ahead? Do they know how long they're prepared to really hang it out here and work the long hours to take advantage of the opportunity? And setbacks. What are we going to do if we do get sick? If our partner says, hey, I need more from you right now, and we have to let go of this opportunity. Again, if you do the action planning like we're suggesting you do in the book, you're going to succeed, and you're going to have that network of people around you that get it and that are prepared and believe in you and believe in how you're taking advantage of these opportunities as an early career teacher.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Pete. As we kind of bring things to a close, have you got any final words for our listeners today?
Yeah, look, life is both simple and hard, and joyful, so do the hard work, accept that it's just a matter of hard work, and enjoy the moments and enjoy the process of life strategy as you take your career into the next stage.
Thanks again, Pete. Some more fantastic tips this week, and I'm sure that our listeners are going to be digging deeper by downloading the book. Next week will be the last podcast in our series where we start to look at maintaining effective support within our teaching teams during times of crisis. Until then, please be sure to share this podcast with other early and beginning career teachers if you think they benefit. Please stay well. Until next time, I'm Alistair Kerr. Bye for now.